and he was very well thought of. He had a lot of fun with them, and they liked him. And they went to singing school, and during the Depression, the people in the South didn't have much to do. You know, they were basically farmers. If someone had a job before the Depression and they were able to keep it, then they did pretty good. But if not, then if you raised anything, nobody had any money to buy it. So there wasn't any use of planting 20 acres of whatever, produce and this kind of thing. They had their gardens, they had their meat and their vegetables, and most of them had cows and mules and horses, and they did do some farming, but they did not raise a lot to be sold because there was no market for it. But in any event, they went to singing schools, and they would go for 2 weeks at a time. Now, I'm not talking about an hour or two. They started at 9 o'clock in the morning, and they quit about 3. And all the young people and families too would go and stay with somebody's house. And they'd go to the singing school all day and they'd sing all night. And they had a ball. And we got an awful lot of awfully good singers. That's the same people who at this point are older. Let me put it that way. That's old is a relative statement, I can assure you. And 70 is a lot younger than it used to be. And you will all begin to feel that way as time goes along. But we had an awful good time. We sang with those people. This was in 1934. This was held in the civic building or courthouse, and I'm not sure about that. There was a kind of you didn't have any conventions in small towns in the South, but there was a kind of a city hall with an auditorium there. And I can remember being, say, in this room, hanging out the windows. It wasn't air conditioned. It wasn't but about 90 degrees, 95 degrees outside. People were hanging out the windows. They were sitting in the windows. The room was full. There were probably 200 people there. And then the next year, 1935, Tom Denson died. But in the meantime, somewhere in there, that year, my dad taught a singing school at a little country church out there about 10 miles from where he had taught that, and he had, the least number he had there was 70. You know, this is country now, and these people didn't live in, you know, like you do here. This house was here, and a half mile or a mile down the road was another one. So there were about 70 people there. It was about the least that was there.
Well, tell them how Mr. Tom, your dad got it down.
Well, but prior to the Depression, I guess, in the mid-20s, my dad and his family moved to South Georgia. And South Georgia was down around Tifton and Fitzgerald, which is off I-75 now. Wasn't no I-75 then. We're talking about the 20s. They moved down there, and there was no singing. Didn't know anything about this much at Hoboken. They didn't know anything about us, and never did. But they moved down there, and they were down there a year or two, and a bunch of them got together and decided that they'd like to have a singing school. Well, my dad went to, I guess he was living in, he was up in Winston County by then, somewhere up in there. And anyway, he contacted him and talked to him, and the end result is he went up and moved Tom Denson to South Georgia. They moved him down there. They gave him a milk cow and kept him down there for 2 years. And he lived on a farm. His family was down there.
That's a long season.
That's all singing schools all around there. That's what he came down there for. Yeah, all around the area, all around. From Macon down, they really didn't teach around Macon, but from, I'm trying to, it's been a long time since I was down there, I'd have to tell you all the areas, but there was probably 100 mile each way, 50 mile each way from an arc there that he taught, and they did have some good singing.
Was he traveling around a mule or something, or did he have a car?
No, he'd go and he'd stay with people for a week.
How did he get there?
He'd go in the back, and we had an old car, and you know, and of course, I'm sure my dad was there. If he could get to us singing, he was there. And this was in 27 and 28. And so at the end of 2 years, he gave us back the milk cow, and we moved him back to North Alabama. So that's how that came to be. And he had a lot of influence on a lot of people. Now, for the next, before I go any further, some of you may have seen a picture that the Hands had out in New Mexico of the Densons with us. A lot of people have, you may or may not have, but anyway, that was taken the day the Hands were leaving that part of the country to move to Texas. They later went on to New Mexico, but the picture was taken there at that day. There's a picture of Tom Denson's family, and now Tom Denson had two families. He had an older set of children and a younger set. And the ones that you know, other than Ruth, or you may or may not have known the other people, Violet and I can't even remember them all, were his second set of children. And they sang with my folks. Now, I was not born. Let me tell you all, I'm not that old. 26, 27 when he moved down there, when they moved him down there. I was not born, I was not in the picture. Everybody tried to make out like it was me that I know down there that knows me, that was taken in the 20s, because we always, you know, fussed and fumed and carried each other out about who was the oldest. But anyway, that's how that came to pass. Now, in the next 2 or 3 years, he went out to Texas and taught a lot of singing schools. So the man had a lot of influence, but now he couldn't get on a plane or get in a car and drive to Chicago. He couldn't do all those things. That was a big undertaking for them. It was a big undertaking for them to have a convention like you have here 2 days here in Chicago, or take the singings around there. You've been to a lot of them. The Holly Spring 2-day singing. They may live 50 or 100 miles from that singing, but they would go because the conventions were held in the summer between the time they laid their crops by. If y'all don't know what laying your crops by, that's when you get through plowing, and the time it was time to reap it, they were pretty well free. So they went to singers, and that's when they had their conventions. If you look at your old convention dates, you'll find that they were in that period.
And that's why there's a lot of 3-day conventions.
A lot of 3 days, you know. But now, think about something. Did you ever travel for 50 miles with a mule and a wagon?
Oh, yeah.
You make maybe 15 miles a day out in the country. You didn't have any good roads. Let's say that it took them 3 days or 2 days to get there. They had to have food for those 2 days for themselves, and they had 7, 8 kids apiece, you gotta remember. And then they sang for 2 days, and then they had to have food to get back home. So think about what they had to do to make that trip.
No pizza.
Pizza Hut wasn't there, McDonald's wasn't there. So they had to have the food that we'd keep, and they had to have it cooked, and they had to have it prepared. So they had to want to go.
Whence come dinner on the ground?
Yeah,
They actually spread.
they spread it on the ground. The first lunch tables was a piece of hog wire stapled up between 2 trees. And it was sagging. And most of that ended up on the ground. I'm going to tell y'all a tale on myself tonight. I went to singing one time, you know, and of course we were poor. We were very poor. And, you know, but nobody told us that. So we got along pretty good. And I went to a singing, you know, and it was eating high on the hog if you get you a fried salmon patty back then now. Now that patty had an ounce of, a quarter of an ounce of salmon in it and a half pound of flour. That's when they made salmon patty, because salmon was relatively expensive, like it is now. So anyway, we had the singing, and the blessing was going on, and I spotted me a patty, salmon patty. So as quick as it was over, I had that salmon patty. The only thing wrong with us, when I took a bite of them, it wasn't salmon. It was fried cornbread. And I had cornbread every day. So I turned around and slipped around and took that salmon patty and sailed it out through the woods. About that time, I got caught. knew after a while. It was right then. So anyway, I did get my sounding patty, but I had to take the consequences. But we had some awfully good times, and I really think that people that don't have those weapons shoot. Anyway, let's do something else. I can't keep talking about it.
You're doing good. You're doing
I was scared to death of him. Absolutely scared to death of him. He was probably the height I am now, and his stomach probably was about the same size mine is. He was a rotund person. Gray hair and very little hair on the top of his head. And when he got on the floor, he shook, literally shook from head to toe when he was directing a song. And my most vivid memories of him was on 171 at Holly Springs Church. The tenors didn't do like they're supposed to in the first two measures, and he stomped his foot and he chewed us out to a fare you well. And that was Mr. K. And he loved me. And later, when I was grown, he'd always tell me how much he loved me. And I said, well, Mr. K, I've been always scared to death of you. Why? But that was Mr. K. And Miss Ruth Denson, bless her heart, she'd sit over here with her little hat, and she had a hairstyle, I don't know if any of you have seen pictures of her. It was cut real short and came to her face like this. And every time she got on the floor, she had to talk a little bit, but that was Miss Ruth. She never led a song without she gave a little talk before me. I know that you don't want to hear what I've got to say, but so that's something
Look in the front of your book. A lot of times we get asked questions about what these numbers mean above the titles, out next to the titles of the song, the numbers and the LM and the CM and all this stuff. Look at page 21. And basically what that is in a nutshell, it's the number of syllables in a phrase. 86, 86, 86, see? And you just go on, and this is the way this works. And that's the phrases, and you have to write your music to fit the phrases, the syllables in the phrase. This has to do with the syllables in the phrase. Remember I said this morning that all the notes have a syllable, right? You have a syllable for each note, or two if you got a slur or a tie or whatever. So all that comes into play. And that song will sing, or that tune will sing any other song's words if they are of the same meter. If they're not of the same meter, you're going to have to either add a word or two or whatever it takes to come in as ours, but they're traditions for you. And what you want to do is to take some of those, the good things, and make a tradition from them. That doesn't mean you have to go out and look for one. But it does mean that there will be some there if you'll just keep your eyes open when they appear. Don't try to bring them up. Don't try to change out. Be like ours, the way they are. We sing the notes and then we sing the word. Traditionally, this song is sung a little slow in the 3/4 time. And it's sang loudly out once we change the time. That doesn't mean we run away with it when we get out there. There is reason. Let me mention one other thing while we're here. The bird's eye. Somebody asked about the length of a bird's eye. bird's eye can be whatever length the leader wants it. Don't copy everything you do.
You know, but be graceful in what you do. Don't just get up there and, like you're pounding it today, okay? We have all different kinds, and it takes all different kinds. But see how much better your arm movement will be if you put just a little swing in it, a little break.
All right, babe, and he happens to be Jim Ayers' nephew, because they were kids. But he taught us some of the graces of reading. And you know, you hesitate to start preaching these things in this day and age because people want to express their freedom. But if he turned to this part, he put his hand out here. If he turned over here, it was here.
Maybe that was that.
Here, this
Shouldn't
way.
do that.
And while you can do that, I know how to do that. I don't practice it. Maybe I should. I don't know.
Well, we don't see enough examples.
Yeah. It has its.
Andrew Albers is yeah, well, he did that second time he did it.
All right. Let's see. Let's.
Right, where you hold the shoulder, but you don't just do. An elbow is at your motion. Right. And the different styles of leading, read it out.
Yes.
All right. She will back up into a corner.
Yeah.
It's the way you do your feet movement. It's kind of like a dance. Don't dance. Don't dance, but you have the same motions when you walk on the floor, like Riverdale will back up. She will take a step back like this, and then turn her apart or turn this way. And you will find, that's what I told you this morning, walk in the floor. By the time you get over here to turn this one in, whether you have backed into it or where you've swiveled your feet and turned into it, this is part of the grace of leading. Do your, or work from your shoulder down. Don't just plop it down like that. Now, a good example of doing this and turning to your parts, never will forget I was up here to the anniversary singing one time, and I turned to the bass, and you know I always turn ahead of time, and the bass just quit. Just completely stopped. Well, it so shocked me. So from that time on, I thought, you won't do it again. So from that time on, how many of you have noticed me doing it? And I come to
I have no idea what happened.
You don't just point, Shelby, you give that look.
I said, you won't do that to me again, so I pointed to him. So, you have to know who you're singing with. Okay? And this will bring up songs. For instance, if you go sing at Alabama, you better not sing an anthem or you'll be singing by yourself. Now that's not a slur on them in any way. They can sing it, they just don't do it. They know it hymns. You have to know what songs you're singing. When you get on the floor, Be familiar with what you're singing. For goodness sakes, don't call Rose of Sharon and you're the only one in the group that knows it. Okay? Now, I'm not throwing off on Rose of Sharon. I'm just saying, if you want to sing a solo, you get up there and you do it. That's what you're going to accomplish. Is calling a piece of music that, in the first place, you're not familiar with. See, if you're not familiar with it, how on the sun can you expect somebody else to pull it off? So be familiar with what you're singing. Okay? And the people that you're singing with. And be specific when you turn to your parts. And bring me so that they won't do that to you. How many of you ever noticed they do it?
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of bases, you talk about repeat or not repeats, and so often it's us. And there's nothing more frustrating to see a leader beating the way over here sometimes than there.
And they don't,
I don't
They're
you
know.
don't
not
have a
thinking
clue.
about, they're not thinking ahead, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You don't have a clue. So that's what we're trying to tell you. You can't wait 2 or 3 measures into where they're picking up to turn to them. It's too late then. You got to turn to them first and let them know that you're going to repeat. And you can also do that. I remember me telling you this morning, tell them how you're going to beat it, how many verses you're going to sing, and you can even say, I'm going to repeat it if you want to. You have to let the class know, either by holding up your hand, that you're going to stop, or you're going to have to be right over there in your faces that you're going to repeat, okay? Now that will help you now. Be graceful, and I've seen people actually dance from one corner to the other. You don't need to do that. But you don't need to stand up here and be completely scared out of your mind because you're afraid to move. Okay. Try to move. If it's not anything except shifting your weight from one foot to the other, then you'll find out, well, that wasn't too bad. I can walk. I can move my other foot, you know. And then it will gravitate into one step into the other. We didn't always know how to get leads. This comes from
Big piece.
You really don't want to be Shelby. When you were talking about being familiar with your song, I don't think that you meant to indicate that they should always lead the same tune every time.
No.
Or the same
Let's-
6 songs.
How about, y'all sometimes fuss at the front bench because they let you down? They don't read that. Same thing with me. They don't know what you're going to do. And you'll decide you're going to repeat, and the tenor just sits there because they didn't know what you was going to do. They thought last time you sang that song, you didn't repeat. And then the next time, you'll decide you are going to repeat. See? And they just sit there.
See, they're not mind readers. They're not mind readers. They have to know. And they get a lot of slack. That's what I told you about the front bench this morning. Front bench gets a lot of slack about setting the tempo of a song and singing it like they want to sing it. Well, if you can't direct it, you don't even know how it goes yourself, and you can't direct it, what do you expect? Somebody's got to sing the song. So, know what you're singing. Know when to turn to your parts. That's why I told you this morning. Practice sitting in your seat so you can turn to these to your parts and let them come in ahead. Okay? That help you?
We used to sing, I'll tell you a little deal about what we used to have. We lived down in South Georgia, you know, it was kind of warm down there in the summer. And kind of warm down there in the summer was about 100 degrees, the same humidity. And there wasn't no air conditioning. We'd sit under the chinaberry trees. And when we didn't have a singing on Saturday or Sunday when we were sitting around, my dad would sit out under the chinaberry trees and sing anthems. So as I grew up, I knew every one of the anthems, how to sing them, and never forgot. Some of the ones that we took out of the book, I can still sing from memory. So I've been singing, when I was growing up, I sang tenor. And then when I thought I was about grown, I sang triple for several years. And then when I got to let her run me around, I started singing alto. And I sang alto with her for 18 years. The reason I'm saying is you still don't know all these songs and all the parts. So you need to look at your book from time to time. You need that book there, and you need to familiarize yourself with different songs. When you get up to lead, if you can, sing tenor. Now maybe your voice won't let you. You may be tired and hoarse, and it may be 5 minutes before quitting time on Sunday afternoon, you give out. You may have to sing bass, or you may have to sing whatever, and that's fine. But make it a practice to sing tenor. After you've gotten accustomed to singing these songs, try moving for a day. You know, sing some other part. You'll be surprised what you'll learn. Because you can no longer sing that part from memory. You've got to get over and sing something else. You've got to look at your book to sing this other
That's
part.
why you don't sing by it anymore.
I don't sing with her. She used to beat me to death. That's why I sang so many parts. I had broke ribs. So, but anyway, and I didn't pay attention to her, you know. So now she talks about being nervous when she gets up, and I'm scared to death to see when I get up. So it really does not bother me to stand in front of y'all. I've done it all my life.
I just told you at the beginning what type of tree you sing underneath.
Chinaberry. You know what it's a Chinaberry tree. Now,
China.
you never have heard of it? I got something on the horticulture, so
There's the ones in the middle of Blackberry.
Chinaberry. Now, I don't know what your scientific name is, but it's Chinaberry Street. You can call it what you want to, Chinaberry Street. Street.
Somebody get up and
Come on, somebody of you sing yes, sir.
If we are going to have a break, it's time to do it.
Until they had orchestrated or practiced a song so much that they could stand up here without a book and turn to all the parts, sing it by heart without a book, and keep the time by watching someone else occasionally too. But they were not allowed to lead until they could do that. So, you know, which is first, the cart or the horse? Again, it's a matter of becoming accustomed to doing these things. It's just like sitting here beating time. If you have trouble beating time or have a problem beating time, sit here by someone and beat your time. If you can't remember the parts, one way to practice that is to, while somebody else is leading, sit here and point to those parts. I do that a lot, you know. Point to that part when it's their time. They're going to come in whether you do or not, right? But at least we never stand still with nothing. We never stand in one place. We're either losing ground, any kind of knowledge, or we're gaining ground. Now, which way do we want to go? And if you're going to help yourself, improve yourself, you have to learn something. That's not only this, but anything else. Somebody told me that one time, and I didn't believe them for years, but then I found out that's probably right. So you're either losing ground or you're gaining ground. You really do not stand still. It applies to your business or whatever. If you're standing still, your competition is going to bypass you. They're going to get ahead of you. So you have to be doing something. Turn to 448 on the top.
You have to practice. Remember I told you yesterday, don't get up here and dance in the center, okay? But you have to learn, just like in a dance, you have to learn footwork. And the way, and I told you yesterday, and I was telling Samuel this morning, start is a starting base, shifting your weight from one foot to the other, okay? And then turn, just move a foot to left and back, until you're comfortable with doing that. Like I told you, Riverdale walks to the back. She backs herself into a corner like this.
And then hands them out.
All right, but now, have you ever watched the way she steps?
No.
All right, she
That's
steps
what I
like
should be
this and
watching.
steps back.
I'm always watching her hands, I should be watching her feet.
Step up, step, all right, now look. Look.
Put me in the corner again. Put me in the
All right, look, she will step like this and step back
into the corner like this. Watch your footwork. It's just like in a dance. Don't dance, but you do. All right, did anybody watch me when I led 269 this morning? All right, you didn't watch my feet. All right. Now, I swivel or pivot on one foot a lot. Now, do it what it is natural for your body. But your footwork has a lot to do with the way you turn. Yeah. You don't even have to get out of the spot to turn. Thing like this.
And it's natural if you don't think about it.
So you gotta,
Some of us, it isn't.
all right.
Everybody turns around, you know.
Yeah, but some of you look awkward when I say it. And it's because you have not practiced your footwork. Step into it or just rock. Shift your weight. Practice coming back like this. It's all in your footwork. Yeah, we don't
Yeah, you
have,
have your
we're
book
working
now.
under,
All right.
we're working on footwork, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Wait. Nancy, go on.
then that's what we want to do. Now, what we want to do this afternoon, we'd like for some of you other people to come on up and lead something. And we want some new people. to learn. Give it a little flow like the rest of the music. And unfortunately, we don't have the things in the tenor that we have, for instance, in the alto. We can pick up the alto and sing the alto part out here, or we can just sing through the tenor. We do have a couple of runs in that, but alto and the treble have probably the most problem with that. But let's sing it and listen for your part. Down at the bottom of the page, at the tenor, under 1, it's the same note as 2, the same music, but under 2, you've got a choice note. Now then, this is written in 4/4, and if you look under 1, you've got a sophomila solo. Sophomila solo. You've got 3/4 of a measure, and you don't have a rest in that measure because you don't sing that measure anymore. But look back at the beginning of the tenor, you've got a quarter measure of music. So you don't have a rest. You sing out through 1 and then repeat. When you repeat, you skip that measure and go to the next one. And that measure is, of course, full. With the treble, bass has 1. And if you have a problem with it, just sit and practice it. So, la, so, so, la, so, so, la, so, la, so, la, so. Just don't get so mechanical with it, but learn to do it. A good example of that is spring, and that is a tough one. If you ever miss a note, you're in trouble. But you can do it if you'll do it and do it in just like you would a phrase. Do it in kind of in groups. So in this case, let's do this song, and I'm gonna pitch it a little flat because we're all a little tired. I'm a little tired, my voice is a little tired, and so is yours. We won't pitch it quite up to the pitch, but let's do it. That's supposed to be a black note. It is. It has a dotted half note with a bird's eye. So that basically gets 3/4 of the measure. And you have to be ready when you start. But if you start your hole here and let yourself work down, start back up, and then come in, okay?
Of course, if you don't want the bird's eye, you simply tell
You
everybody,
can-
I'm gonna beat this strict time, and we're just gonna go ahead.
Right. If you want to omit a bird's eye, just tell everybody, but tell them, because if you used to stop it for that bird's eye, you're in trouble, and they're gonna stop anyway. All right? Same thing applies when you're singing the words. Let's do the words now. Oh,
I can't get them off that bird's eye.
All right, now let me, you watch me and see if I can do it. Okay.
Now you're scared.
You watch your hand.
I will.
Okay. Here we go. Right from the front.
oh,
cleaner than we've got in our whole body. But it's quite an honor to come and be with you folks. And we hope we have not said or done anything that would hurt anybody's feelings. And about you or anything else. And we do appreciate
Go
it.
get some more cleats and hit ourselves.
Sort it all out.
We'll be back in June for your singing, we hope. Yes, we
Why
will
don't
see
you
all of
offer
you
that?
folks in April. We want to remind you that the state line singing is in April. And if you want anybody from the South to be up here, you better be there. Not threatening anything like that. No coercion. Just a promise. But we're looking for you. If you need any information about the motels, hotels, we have it. Ted has it. And we'd love to have you. I think you would find if you've never been, it's a real treat for those 2 days.
It's a treat weather-wise too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you better bring your toes.
Which
You never know what you're gonna need.
You never tell when it make it down to 35 or 40 degrees about that time of year. So,
Make it up to 7 or 8 too.
yeah.
But when we left, it was the jonquils were already in bloom.
I don't know what else they do.
It's called daffodils around.
We have thoroughly enjoyed it, we appreciate it, we hope some of the things that we might have said or done might help you feel that you have learned something, and might help you in singing this music and appreciate it. So, is it time to go home? It's time to go home, let's all sing, we're going to sing this one here. Y'all have any announcements you want to make? When's your next singing, Ted?
Our next singing is March 16th.